Hi, my name is Nathan McCully, and I'm a member of Dr. Barron's Anthropology class, Mission College in Santa Clara. Did you happen to know that there have been 117 billion H. sapiens, or humans, us, that have ever been born on the planet Earth? This is a big figure, but that doesn't include all of the early species that exist in our genus, that being Homo, and all of the other species that have existed previously to our species and our genus. That's partly what my project is about today. This project is what I like to call Hominid's Travel Trunk, and inside here contains all of the remnants, in the form of skulls, of all of our earliest ancestors, stretching back 7 million years ago all the way to today. So let's see what's inside, shall we? First, we'll start with the chimpanzee. Has existed for 7 million years, same as our oldest ancestor, and we actually share about over 90% of our DNA with the chimpanzee, believe it or not. And though we don't share very many traits, they actually are display obligate bipedalism. Now, what characterizes us as humans and what distinguishes us from them is the idea of habitually walking upright, and this trait is associated with our earliest ancestor by the name of Sahelanthropus chadensis. We call her Sally. You can see this is actually a model skull. This is actually based on a real-life skull, life size. You can tell that they actually walked upright because the foramen magnum actually would have been located directly underneath the skull, allowing it to walk upright. See? But our genus actually came much later. Homo. This is actually the earliest one, Homo habilis. Homo habilis, as you can see here, is actually credited with continuing the trend of walking upright, but as well as using tools, or tool usage, and was the first to create the Oldowan tool-making industry as well, using tools such as this for making flakes. So from our earliest member, we only diversified from there. And it also should be noted that, so we have our next species, Homo georgicus. Now it should be noted with this one that it's controversial because scientists think it's either Homo erectus or whether it's a new species, Homo georgicus. Okay, so you can see Homo georgicus right there. Had habitually walked upright as well as used tools, right? Now, speaking of Homo erectus, here we have a few skulls of Homo erectus right here. Now, just like Georgicus, Homo erectus also had experienced a large increase in cranial capacity, meaning that it actually had a larger brain in order to compete with its environment. Once again, walked upright, but is also distinguishable because it had a modern body plan, what we would consider modern body plan. And this species is significant because we start to see the first evidence of aggressive behavior within Homo erectus, and that only goes on from there as we develop hunting strategies and skills. Hunting strategies. Homo antecessor is the next species here, a very, very small species, either a juvenile or just could be an adult, a much, much smaller species. But this species is known for walking upright once again, had used tools like all of its other predecessors did, but is also noted for creating violent hunting parties in order to kill neighboring youth or to prevent competition in the future. So much aggressive behavior and much more violent nature as we go along. Homo heidelbergensis is the next one. Obviously a much larger brain, even bigger. So able to compete with its environment much more. It walked upright with its foramen magnum right underneath the skull. Had used tools, contained bigger brains, but also is noted with creating violent, violent, like routine hunting trips. So the beginning of actually kind of planning hunting trips within that species. Much more aggressive as we go. Next one is Homo floresiensis. It's got a couple names, Flores man, or simply called the Hobbit. It's the smallest of the Homo species. It only stood about 3 feet tall, but where it lacked in size, it actually made up for in a lot of evolutionary milestones. Those being walking upright, which it needed to hunt big game that existed on the island of Flores, Indonesia today. Used tools, like spears, to hunt game. Contain a modern body plan, which would have been useful for hunting, but also contained, despite its size, a brain that was actually bigger than its body, or that was proportionate to its body size as well. So a very remarkable species. Now we actually have a species that our own species lived alongside, called Homo neanderthalensis, known as the Neanderthals as well. They had much more robust skulls, and obviously with that, much bigger brains. They also they did walk upright as well. Bigger brains, upright. They also used tools in the form of spears. They continued the stone tool industry, create spearheads, where we start to see hafting as well, so creation of spears, as well as symbolic culture as well, that we can see today in the remains of cave paintings in Lascaux in France. And it should be noted that Neanderthals also, they may be extinct, but they actually live on within us. On average, about 1 to 2% of Neanderthal DNA exists within populations in Europe as well as Asia. Last but not least, we have Homo sapiens. That's us, characterized by all of 5 of the evolutionary milestones, walking upright habitually, the only species that does so in the genus Homo. Modern body plans as well, much bigger brains compared to our body size, an increase in frontal lobe and various parts of the brain, as well as symbolic thinking that we actually carry from Neanderthals. And we are also habitual tool users as well, files and also knives as well, in order to accomplish tasks. Now, and it should be noted that we are also a very violent species as well in terms of war and in terms of our weapons that we have. We don't have spears, we use guns and nuclear weapons. And with that being said, about 7 million years ago, our earliest ancestor, Sahelanthropus chadensis, couldn't even imagine what life would be like 7 million years from where it lived. With technology and our modern way of living. And in the same way, us Homo sapiens also can't even imagine what life would be like in the future for our own species. What might we turn into, assuming that we don't kill each other? Assuming that we don't kill each other first, right? And introduce to you Homo futurus. So assuming that we don't kill ourselves, we might become, what might we turn into? Maybe more like the Borg, where we are more machine than man, but we still retain parts of our humanity. Or might machines actually take complete control of us, and we are actually more like the Terminator, where we're absolute 100% machines. Or maybe a more utopian world where technology instead kind of serves us, as is the captain from the movie WALL-E. Who knows? Pure speculation. We don't know what that might turn into, or what we might become going into the future. And so with our species, I guess we'll just have to kind of see. We'll put Homo futurus into the box here, and then we shall go ahead and see in about 7 million years what we might become in about 7 million years. Thank you for coming to my presentation. I have a few additional links if you're interested in more information. I have some more links at my email there, as well as some more additional information in this companion booklet, where I have all of the species that we've covered today, as well as more archaic ancient species. Once again, thank you for coming to thank you for seeing my presentation. Please follow those links.